Hi, this is Robert and Christian back with another video showing off another set of new features for Visual KPI. This time we're going to talk about an all-new interactive trend. We've kind of rebuilt the trend chart, which is probably the most popular feature in Visual KPI, and we've rewritten it from the ground up. Now the goals in doing this were to make it faster, obviously, to provide more information than we have in the past, to make it more interactive is one of the biggest ones. And then the last one was to provide even better hardware integration on the most modern of mobile devices. As they advance, we want to advance right along with them. Now we accomplished all that, but we also added a few more things that were even beyond our goals, and Christian will show you those as we go along. So hi Christian, take it away and show us what's new in the trend.
Hi, Robert. And yeah, let's take a look at what we got here. So we've always had a fairly decent trending package, and this has really taken to the next level. What I want to show you today is kind of talking about our trend modes. So these little icons at the top, we have several different modes that we're going to talk about. And some work on mobile devices, some work just on desktops, and some work on both. And we'll talk about a little bit of the difference. And that's kind of part of taking in this hardware integration. And I'll get to that as we move along here. So the first mode I'd like to talk about is what we call box zoom mode. So when you click on the little icon, it shows up green. That's kind of the mode you're in, and you can basically draw a box zooming into the piece of data you want to look at or the area of the trend you want to look at. And you may have noticed there an interesting thing happened. As you zoomed in, it actually went out and got more data from the data source, so you can see kind of more of the peaks and valleys. Often when you're on a trend, you may have 10,000 data points on a 200-pixel screen, especially on a mobile device. So you wouldn't want to see all those data points. It would be a big mess of lines. So really, a trend is a representation of the underlying data. And as you zoom further and further in, you can go get more data points, and it'll fill in for you automatically.
So we're not only maximizing the real estate on the screen, but also maximizing the bandwidth by only pulling across the information that's actually needed for display. And then also, we are dynamically pulling it based on how zoomed in you are. We'll actually go out in near real time and pull out more data as necessary, or less data if you zoom back out. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And a lot of data historians do this for you already. However, the difference is now we'll do it for any data source. And that's a big difference in this trend. Even if you have a SQL table that you're looking at and has no concept of screen width when returning data, we'll do that for you.
Excellent.
So taking a look on the right here, we have a mobile device simulator, and of course, in this case, we don't have box zoom, but a lot of these new mobile devices, all new ones really, new Blackberries, new Androids, iPhones, they all have the concept of pinch zoom. So although I can't show you that in the demo here, you can pinch and zoom on these. Another thing you can do is we have drag mode, which works on both. So if you're in the drag mode, as you move the trend around, it will, if you go back in time, it'll go out and go to the server and get the latest data for you, or the historical data for you. So you can move things around. You can also do things like double click to zoom in, and obviously the pinch and zoom will work in and out. And on the desktop device here, we also have the drag mode. Same sort of thing. As you move around, it'll go out and get the data. You can double click to zoom in. You can use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. So you really can play around and line up your trend and look at it as you want. On both devices fairly easy. So both very interactive. And again, the mobile device takes advantage of the hardware with things like multi-gestures to pinch and zoom.
And one of the things I think it's important to see here is the speed at which it's doing this, because Christian, you're in Arizona, I'm in Switzerland, and this data source is living somewhere in California, and actually on a mobile device simulator and on your desktop here, you're pulling new data from the data source many, many miles away very, very quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, bandwidth is very important. Less so on desktops, but kind of the beauty of what we do here is we're a mobile company and we write mobile software, and it just happens to work on a desktop. So all the work that goes into reducing bandwidth and making things quick and snappy on a mobile device, which is a lot less powerful device than a desktop, the desktop reaps those advantages also.
Great.
Another mode I want to talk about is cursor mode. So this is kind of part of the more interactivity. So once you get your trend kind of where you want it here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how we can zoom out and we can change time frames kind of like we always had. So here I'm going to go into a 4-hour trend. And I'm going to look at my cursor here, and I can drag my cursor around the screen, and you can see here that you'll see actual data as I mouse around here of what not only the point value is, but what the underlying data source is. So here, actual is coming from a Pi system, and it's tagged CDT158. Now, on a mobile device, you don't necessarily have as much screen real estate. So what we do on a mobile device, we kind of cut it down or degrade gracefully on the screen real estate and just show you the data points, the actual values from the data points. You can also lock a cursor. So if you want to compare a couple data points, maybe I want to look at this peak, versus this valley, you can do that by locking trend cursors and doing comparisons on them.
And you also see the exact timestamp down below of the point in time you're looking at.
Absolutely, absolutely. A thing that goes along with cursor mode, and I'll show you here on a different trend, is we have this concept of snap to. So when snap to is off, really what we're doing is we're interpolating between actual stored values. So in this case, it's likely the only stored value in the data historian here is this top peak here and this bottom valley here. However, when you move the mouse around, it will interpolate and figure out, with mathematics basically what the values are in between. If you really just want to kind of look at the points that come from your database or your data historian, your data store, you can use snap to. And here what it'll do is it'll actually snap. It won't show you the interpolated values. It goes right to the data store ones. So on this particular point, this blue and black line here, they may not have a data point there, but it's actually snapped because this red line does. So that's kind of a nice thing, and it really helps you select right away to the peaks and things like that, because those are actual values stored in the backend data system.
Right.
And of course, Snap to works on both mobile and desktop devices. Kind of the last thing here I want to talk about on the trend, or one of the last things before we get into autoplay, which is interesting, is quickly from the trend legend now, you can turn things off. So if you just want to say, I just really want to look at one of these, you can click and quickly toggle, and it'll change your axis of what you're looking at here, your ranges. So that's a nice little feature that obviously works on both desktop and mobile device. The last part I really want to talk about here is autoplay, and this is a really interesting feature. So let's go ahead and put some data on here to where we're in kind of future time. Let's see if we can maybe zoom out a little bit, and maybe I'll even box zoom in here and show you some interesting stuff here. So here we're looking at this sports future data, which is an important thing. And we also have the concept of the autoplay mode. When you're in autoplay, as long as you have kind of current time either on the right or somewhere in the middle of the screen here, it'll go out and fetch data and update automatically. And that works, again, both on a mobile device and on a desktop device. So that's a really new thing. You don't get screen refresh. It just draws your trend line. You see the overlap. You can put cursors down. You can see how it's moving the whole bit.
So this is a really big deal because you're actually now updating on both your mobile device or on your browser. You're seeing the data as fresh as it is from your data source, and if that data source is updating quickly, you're seeing it as it happens, essentially. The other thing I think it's important to know here is that we're looking at a trend that has future data in it, and by future, it's actually not really in the future. This is an offset trend showing the same value on all three pens, but at different points in time, which is something we've always had, but something to kind of note here to understand what you're looking at.
That's correct.
So Christian, I think is that it? That's a lot.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. I could talk about this for hours, but yeah, there's a lot to it. From a technology standpoint, it's all new technology. It's HTML5, it's CSS3, it's some JSON web services. Most of you don't care about that. What you do care about is, does this work on my browser? And we will work with lower end browsers or older browsers. You're looking at an IE9 here. This will work with IE7, work with IE8. If you have a really old mobile device, you get a little bit less interactivity in the trend, but you can still do quite a few things. You can change time ranges, you can have multi-scale, you can go backwards and forward in time. So we do degrade nicely based on how modern your device is or even your browser.
So we get to take advantage of all this new technology if you've spent the money and you got a really modern, nice device. But if you are one of those people who's still working on an older device, you don't get shut out from it. You still have all the major features of Visual KPI, which is great. Well, thanks, Christian. I think the last thing I'll say is for those of you who are existing customers, all you need to do is upgrade to the latest version by logging in at transpera.com. And those of you who are not users yet, you can certainly sign up for a free trial, and we'll put it in on one of your servers and let you try it out for free for a month. And if you want more information or want to see it, I'll put a link to this demo up on the screen, and you can try it out on your own browser or mobile device at your leisure. So thanks, Christian, and thanks everybody for watching.